Hey, welcome to video number 177 of Walker This Way with Hazel Walker, the queen of all things.
B&I, networking, and any other thing you want to know.
Just the queen of all things, period. I am Mark Simmons. Hazel, you know, when I was young, like a whole long time ago, I was grade 6, 7, I used to draw in pencil on my room the Union Jack flag from The Who, because I was so in love with The Who. The Who.
On your wall?
Yeah, I don't want to get my mom got mad about that because I did Kiss and The Who and I in my horrible drawings, but I drew them in pencil all over my room. It was kind of funny, and so I'm only thinking of that because I actually heard a Who song this morning, and I haven't for a while, and it was "Substitute" by The Who. I don't know if you ever heard it, but it's a song, and then it got me thinking, and I know this is a stretch about subs in chapters. You see where I'm going here? I don't make it complicated, Hazel. I like to try and make things easy.
Oh, I'm hanging with you here. Okay. I see where you're going.
Thank you. So substitutes have actually, not just in song, but in reality in B&I, the idea of who can sub, who cannot sub, what is a sub, what's their purpose? Are they a visitor and a guest and a sub? Do they market their business? Do they not? All these questions have come to the surface just the last couple of weeks, at least for what I'm seeing here in BC, but I think it's probably a pretty common thing. And I think we should discuss what the idea of a sub is for in reality, who makes a good one and who doesn't.
Subs can be really valuable for a chapter.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting a lady one time. She said she had substituted in multiple chapters. She was in one of my trainings to be a director. Mm-hmm. And I always do this little thing when I have a room full of people. Why did you join the chapter you joined? And why do you stay in that chapter? And she said, well, I visited like 5 chapters and I visited regularly, but finally one day someone in one of the chapters said, hey, your category is open. Why don't you join our chapter? No one had ever asked her.
Right.
And so she did. Right. Someone asked her. And so she did. She goes, I was substituting, but I was in an open category and it took a long time. I just thought nobody wanted me.
Right.
Because no one had ever asked. Yeah. So, sometimes we don't see the substitutes and we're not paying a lot of attention and we're just trying to fill a gap, right? When we can't be there or someone else can't be there. Because I know I went into another chapter one time and the visitors were coming in and this visitor host said, we're going to hey, Mark, thanks for visiting us. We really appreciate it. We have a member who's absent and this is his information. And if you don't mind, you could represent him today. So yeah. And at the end of the meeting, I said, do you make all of your visitors become liars? Like, what are you doing? That's not okay. That's not a good way to treat your visitors.
Right.
You can't just surprise someone and tell them they're going to be the sub for a member. So, we don't always treat our substitutes. We don't do a really good job with them. But the purpose of a substitute is we know that things are going to come up in our lives, right?
Yep.
And there's, there's sometimes I just have to, I'm sick. I got up in the morning, I have a migraine, I'm throwing up, the kids are sick, whatever, something's happened, I can't make the meeting. So we've got 3 missed days, and upon the 4th day, your position can be open, right? Mm-hmm. So that's and that's every 6 months. So it's a rolling 6 months. So those are my emergency days. But if I know I'm going on holiday, like you just told me a couple times that you're going to be gone on some vacations, and you know those far enough out, you could get a sub to go to your chapter on those dates. That's 2 meetings, right? Mm-hmm. You've got time to plan for it. So when you've got time to plan for it, even if it's just a couple days, you can reach out to people and ask them to substitute for you. And that way you're not losing one of those emergency days that you may find you need, mm-hmm. right? That was the purpose of the substitute program so that you could have someone else cover you. You're still going to have top of mind. And the other thing is, the thought process was that you would write out what you want your substitute to say when they're representing you. Like, you're going to email them, here's my referrals that I have. I will enter them in the app. And here's what I'm going to say. I would like for you to ask for this week. I'd like you to give me a testimonial, whatever. But you've prepped them to be your sub.
Yeah.
Right? So I've taken the time, I've prepped this person. If it's an employee, I've prepped that, I've brought them to the meeting so they can meet everybody else. If it's a family member, I've brought them to the meeting so they can meet everybody else. So substitutes take planning.
Yeah.
But here's the problem we have sometimes with substitutes. I'm standing in a BNI meeting. An ex-BNI member that had been a member of that chapter stood up in the chapter and said, you guys should all just quit BNI and be on the substitute list, because I don't have to follow any of the rules and I'm still getting the same amount of business, if not more, just being on a substitute list. Mm-hmm. That wasn't good.
Not at all.
Right? He was taking advantage of the system. So ex-BNI members who are visiting chapters that have a category open and they're getting referrals, that's not good. They're an ex-BNI member for a reason. And you paid to be a member and you're following the processes. And now you've got these ex-members coming in whose seats are still open and they just think they should continue to get the business. And as long as they continue to come as a substitute, that position will never be filled. Right.
And then also with subs, different from visitors, where if it's an in-person meeting, they're paying a venue fee or whatever the due is for the morning as a visitor, but as a sub, they're not. It's covered by the member.
Right. So and they're even getting in for free. Yeah, they're getting in for free. Right. So it's important that we remind substitutes, you don't get to speak about your business. You only get to represent the person you are there to represent.
Right.
And ex-members are just not a good choice. What is the message we send to the membership committee when we say, we don't care what you say, we're going to keep inviting them back?
Yeah.
Right. So they're ex-members for a reason, and they're not welcome to come back to the chapter.
Especially if they've had their category open by the chapter, right, or under some code of ethics violation or policy violation.
Correct. Yeah. And so they violate policy and code of ethics, and you've just invited them back to represent you. So that's on one of our things is this is not a good source. The other one is this one came to me because someone from a BNI chapter, one of my members, came to me and said, when I joined BNI, what I bought into, one of the things that was important to me was exclusivity for my business. And I said, yeah, that makes total sense. The problem is, Hazel, I don't have exclusivity in my chapter. I go, what do you mean? The chapter has someone coming in here substituting every single week. And he was in a B2B business. That is my number one competitor. He works for my number one competitor, and he's in our chapter every week. So I cannot say what I want for a referral. Because the moment I do, now he has the same information to call on them.
Right.
Right. And he goes, so I feel like I should just leave the chapter if they're always going to use them. And that's when I realized if you've got members in your chapter that do certain things, don't invite people to be your substitute that do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Not because they're not going to stand up and ask for the referral, but if you are going to ask for Susie at the XYZ company because we know this company's downsizing and they need a consultant to come in there and help them for redesigning, you don't want everyone to know that.
Right.
And you definitely don't want your competitor to hear that. So, yeah, you own the exclusivity. So it's one thing to have someone, a real estate agent, now and then popped in and visited. And maybe if it was from the same company, it would be fine. But it can't be your competitor.
Yeah.
It just can't be your competitor sitting in the room all the time. And then I think the last one, there's another one.
It's also,
there's a third one.
Yes.
We get them all the time. We're having a hard time with it in British Columbia right now. People walk into chapters as visitors and say, I don't want to join. I don't have the time, but I'll come in and sub for any of you members who need a substitute. We even had someone in British Columbia who was charging a fee for it.
Yeah.
And promoting it.
Professional subs.
Professional subs. So if there's a category open in the chapter, a person can come in as a sub, but only 2 times, the same as a visitor.
Right.
Because they're actually visiting. And that position's open. So they get 2 visits and they have to come back with an application thereafter. So otherwise, they're just taking advantage of the system without ever doing any of the work.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 things. But I think those are the 3 most problematic substitutes.
Yeah.
A retired person, on the other hand, one of my members asked me the other day, hey, we got a member who's retired. They sold their business. They're not doing anything, but we love him. He loves us. Is it okay if he subs? And I went, yeah, that's perfect. He can come in and sub because he loves all of you and he'll represent all of you and do a good job for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And we also want to remember too, for members, is the best sub is someone who knows you and represents you. And because they're going to say the nice things about you, especially in networking. They're there to promote you. They're there to bring your weekly presentation message that you've prepped them for. Don't let them wing it. Winging it is not good for them. They're already nervous. You prep it and you write it out for them so they can read it. So those are the good subs. And don't forget why you have them. It's so that you're remembered. You're front of mind every single week. And it's not, we don't get into sub sharing and
I think the worst thing is I hate when we lose people for attendance.
Yeah.
Because we do have such a good policy of the substitutes. But I remember one guy got really upset because his chapter opened his position and there had been an accident or something. And he felt that it should have been excused. And he'd already had 4 missed meetings. So he didn't make his meeting and they opened his position, his 5th meeting. And he was really angry. He called me up and he says, this should have been excused, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, let's take a look at your attendance. And I went through the dates with him. And I said, what happened here? He goes, well, we were on a cruise for 2 weeks. And I went, and you didn't send a substitute. Oh, and I go, and what happened here? I just slept in. And I said, so what? The reason you lost your position in BNI was not because of this last accident. It was because of all the times you didn't bother to use your substitutes.
Right.
And that's what cost you your membership.
Yeah.
And that's what members need to think about. We have a substitute policy to help you. Just be diligent with it and choose someone good, like your family members and customers. Or
when my son was 16, he used to sub for me in the chapter. I loved them. They hated me. They loved him. When's he coming back? Like, man, okay. But he was great because he said mostly nice stuff about me.
Yeah, my daughter used to do the same thing until I ended up with a couple of people started calling me Hurricane Hazel, and I knew exactly where that came from.
Oh, she's telling us family secrets. So members, here's the thing. There is no sub policy. There are sub guidelines. There's an attendance policy that is written, and that is 3 absences on the 4th one, your seat could be open, and that's within a 6-month period. That's policy. Subs, there is not a policy, but there is a guideline, and that's what we're giving you as the guideline. Remember, the subs are there to represent you. You have a lot of options. Best rule of thumb is get your own sub.
Get your own sub. And remind your substitute that they get to pass referrals if they want to do business with any of your fellow members.
Yeah.
Right? Just tell them you're going to meet all of my best network and they will help you with anything you need.
Yeah. But a sub is a sub, not a sub and a visitor. So in the weekly presentation part, they're representing you and they're not. It's not, okay, now you get to introduce your business as well. That's not part of the program.
No, that's not part of it. And you know what? We hear people go, well, then why should I bother subbing for anybody anyway?
Right?
Okay, well, that's not giver's gain. But the other part is you get to network before the meeting. You get to network after the meeting. You get to give out your business cards, your coupons, your flyers, and one-to-ones. Yep. You can do one-to-ones.
Absolutely. So members, choose your subs wisely. There's some stuff to chew on for a while. I think we got our something done. Hopefully. Okay. Hazel Walker, till next time.
See you then.
Bye.